Hello, friends. Today is June 5th, 2022. If you have seen my previous videos, you will remember that I recorded them on the topic of a faraway conflict. In today's video, I would like to talk about something much closer to home, a topic which until just a couple of weeks ago, I ignored, thinking that its effects do not touch me or my family. I was disabused of this naive thinking when my daughter, a student at a local elementary school in Portland, Oregon, told me that she's sick of hearing her schoolmates talk about their sexual orientation and gender identities. Kids in elementary school talking about their sexuality? My daughter is 10 years old, in her final weeks of fifth grade, and the school she attends is a K through 5, right? Most kids are older than 11. Most are younger than 10. Thinking about the age of school students, I felt disturbed by her words. Why, I thought, our elementary school kids are talking about sexual orientation and gender identities? When I was in fifth grade, I was not interested in girls or boys, nor was I thinking about my gender. This simply was not on my radar. I was into my toy tin soldiers and playing soccer with friends. I was obsessed with trying to beat my dad at chess. I was not thinking of other kids as potential boyfriends or girlfriends. I had no idea what a boyfriend or girlfriend even meant. Seriously, my recollection of childhood are vague, but one image stuck in my head. I remember once noticing a young couple sitting on the retaining wall at the entrance of a supermarket. It was early spring. The air was chilly. Everyone was wearing coats. I remember that particular couple because the young man, he had seemed impossibly old to the 10-year-old me, had his arm slung around the shoulder of the girl sitting next to him, his palm resting on a bulge of her chest, cupping it. The girl was resting her head on his shoulder, leaning into him. They were sharing a cigarette. I thought, what an odd pair. I remember feeling like I couldn't quite understand why they were sitting so closely together, side-hugging, why they looked so satisfied being close. Perhaps I was a sheltered boy growing up in the Soviet Union, where human sexuality wasn't broadcast on all available mass information media. There wasn't much media, radio and TV. It was all very socially conservative. At least this is how I remember it. The first time I saw an image of a naked female body, fully naked, spread eagle, was when I had found a porno mag in a park in Italy. I was 14 then, on my way to America. So this is why when my daughter told me that she's sick of hearing her schoolmates talk about sexuality and gender identity, that I found myself feeling worried and confused. Why our kids at elementary school are discussing these topics for which I don't think most of them are ready, not interested in, unless their interest was somehow drawn to it. Kids' sexual development hasn't kicked into a hormonal high gear in an elementary school. Kids pattern their behavior on their parents and adults around them, as well as their peers. They mimic what they see on the screen. That's how I was thinking about what my daughter told me. What idea can a 10-year-old have about sexuality if their bodies aren't producing the hormones which we typically associate with sexual activity? So once I got over my initial shock at hearing my daughter complain about her classmates' interest in sexuality and gender expression, I decided to ask her, why do you think they're talking about these things? I don't know, she said. Maybe because of the internet and all the pride flags around the school. And from what I had seen at my kids' school, it has a lot of pride flags in hallways and classrooms. And I got into thinking about all the controversy I had heard regarding some schools, districts, in a state like Florida, essentially banning pride flags from classrooms. So I started researching, and in the process found that the Don't Say Gay bill I heard so much about here in Oregon, a piece of legislation passed by Florida lawmakers recently, discourages discussion of sexual orientation or gender identity in primary grade levels. Wow, I thought. I think I understand what parents and legislators in Florida are concerned with. First, I want to attack the framing of the opponents to this legislation. It's an ugly way, in my opinion, to talk about a law you don't agree with. It's completely misleading. And even though I am definitely on a side which supports it, thus, I have a bias, I believe that my bias isn't the thing that tells me that framing the opposition as some anti-gay legislation is, well, honest. The thing is, there is not a good argument for keeping pride flags or materials which would aid in starting a discussion of human sexuality, sexual orientation, and gender identities in an elementary school. And I'm going to argue that it's not the pride flag that's really the issue here, but rather another flag which I saw at my kid's school, the so-called progress flag, which, as you can see on this picture, looks like this. It incorporates pride flag in its design, the layered stripes that symbolize inclusion, togetherness, according to its creator Gilbert Baker, a natural symbol from the sky. The colors in a pride flag are themselves symbolic: red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, indigo for serenity, and violet for spirituality. Gilbert drew his inspiration from the American flag itself. To him, the stacked stripes represented togetherness. Nowhere does sexuality dwell in the symbolism of this banner. In fact, in the original design, there were 8 stripes instead of 6, a hot pink representing sexuality and a color purple representing magic. Those were removed by Baker himself for prosaic reasons. He claims, at least. Again, I want to stress that in the pride flags, sexuality is not represented symbolically. However, the progress flag is another matter. This flag uses elements of the rainbow flag. The 6 stripes are present, but adds a chevron made out of layered black, brown, white, pink, and light blue, each of which has a meaning of its own. The creator of this flag is a Portland, Oregon-based artist, Daniel Quasar, and the stripes in a chevron, according to him, represent sexual orientation as well as what's referred to often as marginalized LGBT communities and people living with or have died from HIV and AIDS. The pride flag itself is innocuous if one digs deep enough and ignores the hyperboles around it. Nothing about the 6 stripes is meant to connect to sexuality and gender expression. But the progress flag is the opposite of that by design. Sexuality is woven into its fabric. And trust me, even an adult such as myself, seeing this flag for the first time, felt curious about it. Would a 6 or 7-year-old ask about it if they saw it in a classroom or in a flagpole next to a school building? Of course. Kids are open-minded and curious, more so than the adults. And when a kid asks a question, why would a teacher not answer it? And how to answer a question about progress flag without mentioning sexuality and gender identity? You can't. It's in the flag. It's sewn into it. No wonder kids at my daughter's elementary school know more about these topics than they know about subjects like history or math or science. Okay, I exaggerate. I'm not going to speak for the kids in my daughter's school. I will just say this. My daughter has trouble with a multiplication table, but she knows exactly what the progress flag is. She knows what stripes represent. She can tell me what each color represents. She is 10. She struggles with math and writing by hand, right? But she knows about gender identities, about bisexuality, and being gay. And that worries me. It worries me because I think the schools should focus on teaching kids critical thinking, logic skills they learn through math and science and language and arts. A flag like the progress flag, however, symbolizes everything that's wrong with our education system. It indoctrinates children into a groupthink, teaches them abstract concepts, abstract to them, at an age when their sexuality isn't expressed. I argue that for the vast majority of elementary school kids, sexuality and sexual orientation exist as an incomprehensible notion. They're abstract ideas which, sure, will become very much concrete in a relatively short amount of time as their bodies mature, but not yet. Why are schools focusing on children's sexuality at such an early age? GLSEN survey, and I'm sorry if there is a way to pronounce it without spelling out each letter. At any rate, GLSEN survey, an initiative that aims at identifying the kind of mental pressure LGBT kids deal with in schools across the country, surveys kids between 13 and 21. Surveys gay kids, right? Ask them questions. 13 and 21. They don't collect data for elementary school kids. I don't know why they don't do it, but I have some ideas. One of them being that kids younger than 13 in most cases aren't really expressing their sexuality in a coherent manner consistent with their biological development. If GLSEN survey, the intended purpose of which is to combat homophobia in middle and high school environments, doesn't think that directing attention to elementary schools is necessary, why are schools hanging flags that I argue expose kids to sexuality and gender identity in elementary schools? Furthermore, displaying pride flags in schools doesn't seem to correlate to positive outcomes. Here, I have a side-by-side comparison of GLSEN studies from 2015 to 2019, a period during which pride flags began appearing in many schools across the country. As you can see, there is no change in many of the statistics, even a slight increase in certain instances. According to GLSEN survey, the determining factor for kids, again, these are older kids, kids who already are well into puberty. So the determining factor for these kids is having adults in the school who support them, not the symbols imbued with confusing imagery like the progress flag, but other human beings who can directly assist them when they feel marginalized. Look, if you think that it's the flag that will make your kids feel included, you are wrong. The flag is a symbol, sure, but as a symbol, it does little to actually help kids who are in need of help. Activism for the presence of progress flag in primary school or the pride flag, to a smaller degree, is just for show. It makes no positive difference to the kids, except maybe introduce them to human sexuality at an age when most sane parents would say it's too early. Sane, I would say, were they not confused by ideologies and rhetoric that has no connection to data. That's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Drop a like and a comment down below. And subscribe to my channel. It will help me grow. Thanks. See you later.